Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Machalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam. I know you are going to start the Kriya and all that, but allow me to ruminate a little more on the Upanishad before we go. It will be very helpful when you do the Kriya. Okay? Okay. I told you the story of Nachiketas, right? So, which Upanishad is that? Katha Upanishad. Now, here I'm going to say something. Don't be discouraged by it, because this is the Upanishad. Upanishad likes people to get discouraged before they get back to where you are. Not discouraged, but the whole technique of the Upanishad is to knock down that which is not true, so that only the true remains. So it's in Vedanta, the technique is called Neti Neti. Not this, not this, not this. Unless you come somewhere, there is no more you can say not this. What remains? Which is the innegable essence, substratum that remains after negation of all tangible objects. So therefore, you shouldn't be shocked or surprised with the Upanishad. And also remember that it is the original 2000-year-old Vedantic teaching that has come to us. Everything else came later. So, in the Katha Upanishad, while Yama starts teaching Nachiketas, I'm already seeing people frightened. It says, Nayam Atma Paravachane na labhyo na medhaya na bahuna shrutena Yame Vaishya Brunute Tena Labhyas Tasya Atma Vibrunute Tanum Swam. This Atman, or the Supreme Self, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhya, cannot be attained by instruction. So all this is waste, what we are doing. 2 days of pravachana, 2 days of nothing can happen. But then if there is no pravachana, how would you know that this is written? So I hope it's okay. Right? If we didn't, then we wouldn't even know that there is such a thing that exists, such a warning. So it says, this Atman cannot be attained by instruction. Na medhaya, nor by high intellectual power. More like all the top rankers and all the people who have discovered the theory of relativity and the atom bomb and so on, or now the artificial intelligence, cannot be attained through high intellect. They're not saying you should not have high intellect. This cannot be attained through high intellect. It's very true, because in the history of spiritual understanding, sometimes you find people who are totally illiterate finding it, while the best brains go on discussing, arguing, and not reaching the end. Na medhaya, na bahuna shrutena. not even through constant hearing about it. Like if you sit down and for 10 years keep saying, who am I, you will never reach anywhere. You will be the same person. You have been just chanting, who am I? You are not Maharshi. No. Easy to mistake. Inquiry with just repetition. Then, now here is something very bad, very interesting. Yamai Vaisha Vrinute Tena Labhyas Taisyasya Atma Vibrinute Pranam Swam. This is attained only by him whom the self chooses. Now we are in trouble. What if the self doesn't choose us? Then we have no chance to attain it. But the next verse gives you a small explanation and for what is required for the self to choose you. After saying it can be attained only by whom the self chooses, the next verse talks about what is required, what are the preparations because of which the self decides to choose you. What kind of a person would the self choose? Na virato duscharitan, nashanto nashamahita, nashanta manaso vapi, prajnanenam apnuyat. This will not be chosen. The self will not choose one who is not desisting from evil ways. This is where the Yama niyamas apply when you practice any kind of Kriya or Yoga. Yama, rules and regulations. One of the rules and regulations is desist from evil ways. What is the most evil thing is my ego. Not evil in a bad way. What is a barrier to that understanding is here called evil. So, first, if you feel that the self has to choose you, to reveal itself, desist from evil ways. Also, it will not choose one, nashanto nashamahita, it will not choose one who is not tranquil. So, develop tranquility. He who is not a concentrated mind, so develop a concentrated mind. Not even he whose mind is not composed. If all these things are there, then one can reach the self. How? Through right knowledge. Important to note. So what we are doing in any sadhana is to bring about these qualities so that there is a hope that the self's eye may fall on you and you are chosen. It's not as if it's hopeless. You've been given the guidelines. But don't think that because you practice all the guidelines, you have got it. When you are not grasping, the real self is grasping anywhere. Let's put it this way. Somewhat similar to her question in the morning. Suppose what we are searching for is there, far away, and I am sitting here and I am trying to find it. Right? Then I have to move. What if what we are searching for is here? Here, there and everywhere, but basically here. If it is here, where will I go and grasp? So probably when all grasping and moving here and there stops, then it is. In all sadhana, is to bring about this cessation of grasping. Tranquility of mind, quietness of mind. The first theory, as soon as you hear it's not there, then you're already settled. It's here. Something which has been described in the Upanishad as tad dure tad patantike, it's far and yet so near. Far because the mind cannot conceive it. Near because it is right here. So with this we will slowly shift on to why we practice. Now, to develop therefore good qualities, when you develop good qualities, you're not thinking of evil for anyone. Automatically 50% of the mind is tranquil. It has settled down. The mind gets agitated because of anger, because of dislike, sometimes also because of attachment. When you free yourself a little bit from it, you'll already find a difference in the tranquility of your mind, which is essential. So the yamas and niyamas have to be followed before you start the practice of Kriya. That's one part. On the first day, during the first retreat, I give you a small example. Who were there at that time, I don't know if they are here, they would have heard this. This is a story about it's a simile or a metaphor. Imagine that you have a transparent box, transparent rectangular box, which has no lid. In the middle of the box, there is a partition. The partition is also transparent, glass. In this side of the glass box, there are these tiny, wafer-thin little creatures living. They are wafer-thin, so thin that they have no concept of height or thickness. They know only length and breadth. So thin. And they can therefore not jump or fall. They can only move this way or that way. It is part of their limitation. The green, and that place where there are many of these green wafers, it's kind of like a desert. There's nothing there. It's quite hot and stuffy. On the other side of the transparent wall, there are one or two red wafers, same but red in color, and that side is like heaven. In the gardens of Eden, there Swarga, there's a lot of greenery. These two reds are sleeping under one tree. It's beautiful. There are no houris to give wine, but all this is happening. And they're enjoying themselves. The climate is good and so on. They're also constantly eating doklas. I'm sorry, some food. Now these fellows, they see all this on the other side. And they want to go there. Top is, there is no lid, okay? The problem is, these guys have no concept of going up and coming because they probably don't have the capacity also. They can only move this way. So they're trying hard. They're going and hitting on the glass, transparent partition, trying to get into the other side. Doesn't seem to work. It's happening. It's like a big commotion because everybody is trying to go there. Now I'm standing, or you are standing on top, looking down at the box. You really want to put this green fellow to the red, seeing how much is struggling. But you can't, because they are constantly moving. You can't even catch them. In their own two-dimensional world, they are trying their best to get there. Even if you want, you can't catch. And so they are suffering. I want them to come out, or you want them to come to the other side and bask under the sun, under the shade of a tree. But then one or two or three of them, tired of this and realizing that this is not going to work, we cannot even think of going there. So we'll just settle down quietly and see what happens. Go to one corner and sit quietly. Now I know whom to catch. I catch them and put them on the other side. They're also in heaven. So what was it that was required to take them on that side? Because they cannot do it through any action which is within their own dimension. Quietness and tranquility and rest. And this is called surrender. Not saying, oh, I surrender to so-and-so's feet. That feet itself may surrender to the earth after some time. Surrender means to understand that no amount of acrobatics can take you there. When you calm down, probably it's possible. When the self may choose. Right? Okay. Now we'll come to the other practical session, which is the reason why the mind is not able to become tranquil, however much you try, why the mind doesn't have the natural tendency to remain quiet and calm, according to the yogis. The human body consists of hundreds of nadis. When you say nadis, it means channels, nadis, through which the pranic energy called prana is moving. Erratically, usually, not in any order, depend on your desires, your dejections, your desires, and so on and so forth, your likes, your dislikes. So this prana is moving erratically here and there in most of us, through the 100 nadis. Now for the yogi, out of these hundreds of nadis, 3 are important. The one that goes on the left called the Ida Nadi, and the one that goes on the right called the Pingala Nadi, and the one that runs in the center of the spinal cord called the Sushumna Nadi. These 3 are important for the yogi, because in all of us, the prana usually is moving either to the left or to the right. And fortunately, this prana is connected to your breath. And since everybody has breath, it is common to all. All human beings who come onto this earth have to breathe, so everybody is breathing. So our breath, which is called shwasa, is connected intimately to the prana that moves through all the nadis. Now the yogi says, if you need to calm down your mind, become tranquil. No, wait a minute. Now you would say that, well, maybe the prana is moving through the left and the right at the same time and so on. It's very easy to figure out. If you have a shining cell phone or something, whatever you have, keep it under your nose and blow. You see 2 blobs of vapor there. Generally, they will not be equal. Generally, there may be exceptions. Where the blob is bigger, there the prana is flowing in that time. Where the blob is smaller, there it's blocked, it's not flowing. If it's not flowing at all, then probably your nostrils are also blocked. So at any given time, for most of us, all of us, let's say, either the Ida or the Pingala is working. Now this Ida Nadi is connected to the right side of the brain. The Ida Nadi starts from here, crosses across here, inside, not outside, and goes to the left. And the Pingala Nadi starts from here, crosses here, and goes to the right. So it's connected to the right breath. The right breath, therefore, is connected to the left brain, and the left breath is connected to the right brain. And now all neurologists and neurophysicians, what their name would tell you, that the brain has two, left brain and right brain, and sometimes this is working more, sometimes they are in coordination. But now though everybody knows. In the early days, when people said this, they said, but there's only one brain, what is this left, right? So, now you think about this. The right brain is called the intuitive brain. And which nadi is connected to it? Ida, the Varuna. And the left brain is called the practical brain. The brain that says, okay, you are M, so this is where your area is. That is Jordan, so that is where his area is. He's so many feet away from me. You know, the practical things in life. It controls where we step down, what is the depth, and so on, automatically. So the right Pingala Nadi is connected this way to the practical brain, and the Ida Nadi is connected cross into the intuitive brain. In this world we need both in some way, but mostly we are on the practical system, not so much on the intuitive system. So, the yogi, through the practice of what is called Anulom Vilom, which is balancing the left and the right breath, which are connected to these nadis, brings about a balance first. There's only one step. Now, I want to tell you about something which you should go home probably and do a little bit of homework, and you'll be astonished to see that there is a what is that? Jill Bolts was a neurophysician or something. Yeah? Something like that. There was a young lady who was a neuro something, I don't know what. I forgot to tell you, so therefore the Varuna and the Asi cross here. So for the yogi, Varanasi is here. Because the Varuna and the Asi come together is Varanasi, right? The middle, and the Shiva, Bholenath is sitting here. For the yogi. So therefore when Kabir said, Na tirat mein and so on, he meant that it is all here, why should I go there? That's what he meant. Although he lived in Banaras. So, so there is this lady called Jill Bolts, Jillbolst, who was a neuro something, I don't know, neurobiologist or whatever. And something happened to her. She had a brain stroke. We are not doing Kriya to produce a brain stroke. She had a brain stroke. And the stroke was on the left side. So the blood vessels on the left side inside the brain burst. And the brain got filled with blood and therefore became inactive. Now, which is the left brain? The practical brain, which measures space, time, things like that. So for a short while, of course, she managed to dial emergency before she went completely off. But for a short while, only her right, which is the intuitive brain, was working. So this was shut off. So, dear Jill Bowles, when the intuitive brain was working, discovered that her space limitation was not confined only to her body, but that she was here and also at the door. Which means the left brain decides you're this much. You're confined to this much space. And that was shut off. The intuitive brain took over and she found that she was here and also there. Sounds like a Vedantic experience. She was here and all, tad dure tad vadantike. Near and yet so far and yet so near. And she could see she couldn't get up, of course, she was gone. She could see the trees moving in the breeze, and she felt she was moving in the breeze. The distinction between her presence and the tree's presence was gone. And the bird singing on the tree, she was singing like the bird was not the bird, but me singing. This happened by accident. Of course, lucky girl, she recovered. After she recovered, she wrote a book which is available on Amazon or anywhere. I don't know where you get books. It's called My Stroke of Insight. It's a good book to read. After that, she wrote other books My Stroke of Insight, where she describes her experiences in detail. I just used this example to let you know that when the brain's capabilities shift, many things happen which we don't realize. Perhaps there are ways and means in Kriya and other systems of yoga, of course, pranayama. There are many systems. Any practice is called Kriya actually. Except that when I say Kriya, I'm talking about that kind of, a variety of practices which came down to me from Sri Guru Babaji and Maheshwarnath Babaji. This is what I mean by Kriya. But there may be Yoga Shastra has innumerable Kriyas. We cannot deny that. Any practice is called a Kriya. Why? Bhastrika is a Kriya. See? Mulabandha is a Kriya, and so on. Anyway, so now the yogi doesn't stop with balancing the left and the right. The yogi tries to bring the prana into the central channel called the Sushumna, which connects from the brain through the medulla down through the spine and to the bottom of the spine through the spinal cord. This is the Sushumna channel. Now, for all intents and purposes like practical work, intuition and so on, this is enough, left and right. But if you want to go to levels where words fail to express or the ordinary mind fails to understand and so on, you need the prana to move in the central channel called the Sushumna. So, as you go along, you will see that our Kriya practice, for instance, does exactly that. Tries to bring the prana into the Sushumna. When the prana moves in the Sushumna, it clears up the Sushumna. When the Sushumna gets cleared, the universal energy, which has done all the work of creation, which has also created this body from a small speck of sperm in the mother's womb. Imagine 2 drops of blood, and here is this talking, speaking, thinking man. This energy, after doing its work, according to the Tantra and the Yoga Shastras. Now, Tantra is not a bad word, okay? Tantra is not merely orgies, it's all a wrong interpretation. It rests after doing its work. According to the Yoga Shastra, Yoga Tantras, at the bottom of the spine, in a center called the Muladhara, the root foundation, coiled up in potential form. It's represented sometimes by a coiled up snake, because like there is no snake there, please. Somebody said, I was doing Kriya and the snake was going up. I said, look out, must be from outside. There is no snake there. The snake is a symbol which means that the energy is coiled up and like a snake that goes to sleep. And then you poke it and it stands up, something like that. So the potential, the practice of Kriya is to make the potential energy kinetic, moving, get going. And for that, the prana has to come to the central channel to clean up the entire place so that it is ready to move. And in our Kriya at least, there is no forcing of the moving of the energy, because that is fraught with a lot of danger. We need to do it carefully, peacefully, slowly. Now this energy is a form of the Parashakti, the Supreme Energy, which in our Shastras is worshipped as the Divine Feminine. And the Divine Feminine has 10 variations, they're called Dasha Mahavidyas. Some are peaceful and some are dangerous. Like Bhadrakali is the first of the 10. So you can't expect to go near Bhadrakali and kick and force. Is it possible? No, so please come on. You can't even do it with your wife. Can you think of this? It's feminine energy. You can only say, please, I request you, go up. I have cleaned it up. My prana has come to the center. May I invite you to go? Because this soul, this energy, when it is active, is all that creation that happens. When it is kinetic, when it is completely at rest, there is only Shivam. Shivam meaning auspicious, restful and tranquil. Not in the dancing posture, but as a shivling sitting on the top. So, the moving of this energy through the different portals, through the different doors, dwaras, chakras, centers, padmas, in the Sushumna. And it's reaching the top where it rejoins the source, which is Shivam, and coils around it in great ecstasy. This is where Tantra got misunderstood. We're talking about here, they thought it was here. This meeting is celebrated by Adi Shankara in his famous text Saundarya Lahari, which means ecstasy of beauty. So this is what we are going to do. I know we have to do with Kriya. So this is how it is linked with that which cannot be understood through pravachanas, nor can it. No, if you prepare, then the self will choose. For such a person, just put his hand and take you up. So this whole sadhana is what is called Kriya. So the first step would be to clean the channels. The first step would be to follow the rules and regulations. Yama, niyama. Please don't jump the gun. Yama, niyama. You can't say, that I will be still as I am and still, no, it's not possible. So change your life, basically simple. Now, at one time, when Babaji asked me to teach Kriya, first I said, I'm not teaching anybody. But then when he insisted, you teach Kriya, I said, okay, so what kind of person shall I teach? He gave me a list of 22 qualifications. I took one look and said, Babaji, this is not possible. Please find somebody else. Because with these qualifications, it's hard to find anybody to teach. I cannot do it. You're a great man. You can find anybody you like. She said, what do you want to do? I said, stay in a kutir near the Ganga. That's all I want to do. He said, you do exactly as I tell you. But then it went on like this. I was very hesitant. I was waiting for his green signal after he passed away. But before that, something interesting happened. One day, while we were walking on the other side of the Ganga, which takes you to the Nilkant, there. While we were walking, and same discussion. I cannot do these 20 qualifications, won't work. Babaji says, no, but you have, otherwise you can't teach Kriya. You have to find, it was going on. When suddenly a young man came from there. A very young man with a shining face and long hair. Ladies with long hair will envy him with long hair. And he came, and as soon as Maheshwarnath Babaji saw him, I've never seen him do namaskar to touch anybody's feet. He was always ramrod straight. He suddenly did Sashtang. So I also followed. I thought, if he's doing Sashtang, then we got up. Then this young man put his hand around my shoulders. And he said to Babaji, I think you better listen to this guy. Simplify it. He said, Balak ki baat sun le. So it was simplified. So after we went back, of course we couldn't find the young man, he ran away, I don't know. So we came back and sat down near the Ganga, and Babaji said, okay, look for at least a few things, qualifications. I've been instructed to follow what you said, so please tell. So what are the qualifications? Even these three are difficult to practice, but try your best. Try your best. One, you're trying to find the supreme truth, right? So in daily life, stick to the truth as much as you can. Lawyers are exempted from this. So are politicians. But the rest, stick to the truth as much as you can. As much as you can, I'm adding, because nowadays it's so difficult to do that. So you say, suppose something is true. How do I say it? Because it may not be the right situation. So follow the golden rule. Before you speak, especially the truth, think for a while, what exactly are you going to say? These are all important things. I know you're eager for the technique, but what am I going to say? To who am I going to say this? And is this the right situation to say it? Keep these three as a criteria. And try and stick to the truth as much as possible. Suppose I don't stick to the truth. Maybe all that I'm saying is lies. So what trust do you have in that? Right? So this is very important, primary. Try your best. I mean, there are times when if you have to survive and if you cannot speak the truth, just keep quiet. Don't substitute with untruth. Keep quiet. And if truth can cause injury or violence, all the more reason you just keep quiet, don't say anything. According to Manu, Truth is not only that which is true, but that which causes good to the maximum number of people. So if it causes harm, shut up, don't say anything. Okay. The next, stick to the truth as much as possible is one. I often forget what other is. Huh? Try not to cause injury to other living beings. See if you can live and survive without causing injury to other living beings. You can. Even if you eat eggs for breakfast, it is all right. They're all unfertilized, you're not killing anything. So what I meant was be practical, but be careful. If you feel that you can live without causing injury to a living being, please follow the process as much as you can. And today we know that it's possible. Nutrition doesn't come only by causing injury to animals. There are other ways of living and healthy living. Don't go to the other extreme. I'm not a vegan. Thousands of years the rishis were drinking milk and butter, suddenly that's also bad. I don't believe that. I don't agree. You can believe it, it doesn't matter. So, then, incidentally in Finland somebody gave me a vegan steak. It was very nice. More like rubber. Then, so two, try as much as possible not to be truthful, not to be truthful. Try as much as possible not to cause harm or injury to other living beings. Two, what is the third? Smoking. Yes, not to indulge in any material that causes you to think in a scattered way. Now, also be practical. If the doctor tells you that in your present heart condition, it's good to have a glass of wine, don't worry, have a glass of wine. First, you are not injuring any animal, but I'm not saying that you should have a glass of wine. You can do without it if you can. You're happy. Because what happens, it's not that one glass, after some time it becomes two, then it will become three, and so on, and we are in the mess because alcohol has an addictive problem. And if your brain is working well, why would you do that? Right? And drugs, 100% off. They interfere with even your thought process. How are you going to clear your thought and go to higher levels of existence? So, now there is a fourth one. If you are practicing Kriya, it might not appear so important, but it is very important. Which is what? Daily practice. Practice at least once a day. Don't in your enthusiasm try practicing 3 times a day and so on, and finally you won't practice even once. So practice at least once a day. Morning, if you practice early in the morning, is the best time before activity starts in the world around you. The only activity good for meditation is the activity of birds chirping, which is good. So start early in the morning. Once a day, practice when you do Kriya, you will see that in the beginning it may take you 40 minutes, but after some time, in 30-35 minutes, you can do your Kriya. After that, your meditation, you can sit as long as you conveniently can, which is very important. So, practice at least once a day, preferably early in the morning. But actually, you can practice Kriya any time during the day, as long as you haven't had a full meal. Cup of tea or a biscuit doesn't matter. But if you had a meal, like lunch, breakfast, dinner, leave at least 2.5 hours before you do Kriya. Otherwise, there is no restriction on Kriya. And women, before you ask me, if you have menses, you can still practice Kriya. Shiva is not afraid of all that. Shiva is the purifier. You cannot in any way make him impure, so don't worry. So, practice it once a day, preferably in the morning or in the evening sandhya. And that time when you practice Kriya, don't do anything else. Don't take your dog for a walk. Or rather, don't allow your dog to take you for a walk. You see what happens? You hold the dog, you're not taking it. And if you want to play whatever, cricket or badminton or tennis, please keep a separate time for it. This time, promise yourself, I will do only this. Best time, best thing to do. Now, Kriya can also be practiced at midnight. Actually, it's the best time. Make sure that your partner agrees to it. Otherwise, somebody is sleeping and you're sitting. You get in. And I'll get a bad name. Who said Sriyam told me to do it? Midnight is the best time. So, although midnight is the best time to do Kriya. Okay, so that's settled. Now, when you sit down to do Kriya, the usual question asked is, should I have a bath before I sit? No, not required. Definitely you should go to the toilet, brush your teeth, clear yourself, sit down and do your Kriya bath. You can have a bath later. There's no harm. Nothing to do with Kriya. Well, if you feel better that way, do it. Okay? And when I say early in the morning, find a reasonable time before the sun fully rises. Because that doesn't mean you should start at midnight. This is Brahma Muhurta, so then in the office you will be sleeping. So watch out. Now then, what else remains? If possible, have a separate set of clothes to wear, if possible. But definitely don't wear the clothes in which you slept, because the clothes attract your mood, your emotion. And after getting up and wearing the same clothes that you wore when you sleep, generally, unless you are an advanced Kriya practitioner, instead of Turiya, you will go into Sushupti. Sleep. So, now one more practical thing. Have an asana. You know what is asana? What you are sitting on. Have a rug which is meant only for you. Don't give it to anybody. Don't give it to your husband or wife. Don't give it to your girlfriend or boyfriend. Keep it only for yourself. And don't let the dog sleep on it. So keep it only for yourself. And when you finish your Kriya, roll it up and put it away. It can be an ordinary mat. It doesn't matter. With all these things put together, if you start practicing Kriya and daily, surely you will expect some results. Nairantarya Abhyasena is the sentence used by Patanjali, which means regular practice is what works. You know why? Because all our life, our mind has been working in different directions. You're trying to change the mold. It's not easy. It takes time. Regarding what we discussed now, any questions? Yes. I come back to you.
So in terms of the prana, if it's flowing, if the air is flowing more from the left side compared to the right side most of the time, what does that mean?
If it's flowing more from the left side, now the left side is the Ida. If it's flowing more from the left side, the Ida is connected to that means your intuitionary brain, intuitive brain, imagination, and so on, visualizing, and that is working more than the practical brain. If it is flowing more naturally for you, once one can check every now don't make it a ridiculous habit, like every time you're traveling. No, I mean, if you check and if you find it moving, then you can shift it. If you're doing something practical and you see that the left one is flowing, it's a good idea to shift it to the right side. And how do you shift it to the right side? Now there are one or two. Since you asked me the question, just if suppose it's flowing here and you want to shift it here, suppose, you close this for a while, okay? Keep breathing, lean to the right side. What we do usually is lie down on the ground with the head on the hand like this. And if you want to shift from right to the left, we lie on the right side. And try to naturally breathe for a while. You'll be surprised. Automatically it will shift to the other side. Same, vice versa when you want to do the other side. And if you find that both are working equally, it's a good sign. But it's a good sign especially for meditation. For all practical things like travel, eating, drinking, you don't have to go into this. I'm just, since the question came, eating, drinking, sleeping, sex, going out for a walk, going on a journey, all practical things. Having a business deal with you, it's always good when the right nostril is working. Why? Because it is the practical brain that's working. Probably you will get optimum results. And if the left is working, you should do things like in painting, music, arts, such things, which are in the realm of intuition. It might give you optimum results while doing that. But like I said, it's okay, you should leave it naturally. At some point, if you feel like it, you should do it. Not all the time interfere with it. Because generally it's working according to your mind, according to your character and according to your stability of your prana. It keeps shifting up and down. In the yogi's calculation, every 33.5 minutes, it shifts from right to left or left to right. According to the Shwasa Shastra, whatever. For us, for doing Kriya, all this is not so important. But yes, it's practically good to do this. Suppose, for instance, there are some people who feel very, very cold at all times. They feel very cold. And there are others who break into a sweat even if it's slightly hot. Right? Now, what's happening here is that the Ida is the heat, heating nadi. The Pingala. And the Ida is the cooling nadi. So it's called the sun and the moon. This is the sun. And in short form, in yogic terms, the Natha Sampradaya calls it Ha for the sun and Ta for the moon. That's why they call it Hatha. Hatha Yoga. The sun and the moon. So you know the effects of the moon, cooling, effects of the sun, heating. So when you start practicing your Kriya, if any of these things happen, that you feel very cold when you lie down, you need more extra blankets, just watch which side you are lying on. You're probably lying on your right side and your left is open. If you need to shift, just lie on the other side, so that the heat works. You know what I mean. And if you're feeling all the time hot and stuffy, and lie down on your right side so the left is open. It will cool down by itself. So the sun is the hot and the moon is the cool. Somebody? Yes, sir. Last.
You used to say that we need to be independent from you, like we need to follow our inner guru, but until we have realized the actual self, how do I recognize
Till then you can follow me. It's a simple practical question. Not me, look, we have many texts on these matters. You can follow the text, Swadhyaya, understand. If you have a doubt, then you could refer to me. You don't have to all the time, you know what I mean.
Because we are not always in contact with you, right?
Not in?
Because it's not possible to always be in contact with you.
Email.
Okay.
Not that you might always get a reply, but you try this sometime, that you have a practical problem, meditation or pranayam or kriya. You drop me an airline. You drop me an email. Okay. Then you are waiting, no reply is coming. Sometimes immediate reply might come. Sometimes it may not come, which means it's being processed.
Okay.
Then after 2 weeks, if you feel that the problem has been solved, please send me an email saying, now it's okay, solved.
Okay.
Because we cannot always keep physically in touch with everybody. I only said that once you touch that, then you are on your own. This is what I meant. Like anything else, you need some help. Largely uncharted territory. As long as you don't fall into wrong hands and wrong direction, you're okay.
Yeah, sometimes deep within my meditation, I feel like a connection with some God like Krishna. But is that something I can
Absolutely good thing to do. As long as you don't feel that you're in touch with some devilish thing, you're okay.
If it's something that I feel peaceful or wanting to connect, then that's something I can move.
Surely you could indulge in it. There is no harm. Like, you can think of that beautiful Krishna standing there with a flute, and you're listening to the flute. Just don't imagine you're the gopi, but or you see Shiva sitting, meditating. All these are good thoughts. They will substitute the negative thoughts as good thoughts. Finally you will break the mold in the end.